This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay. Morning, Rabbi. Parshas Boy. We have at the end of the Parsha, very well-known Rashi that says, Ushmartem es hamatzos. Torah says you have to guard the matzos. What are you guarding the matzos from? Nowadays you'd have to guard it, nobody steals it. The matzos are very expensive, you know. But what are you guarding the matzos from? Says Rashi, Shelo yivayli dechimot, so they don't ferment, they don't become chametz. Mikan amru, from here Chazal derive, tipach, once the dough starts to swell, tiltoish b'tzainin, you need to rinse it off with cold water. That retards, that slows down the fermentation process, right? You have to guard the matzos so that it doesn't ferment. Rabbi Yoshia says, Al tihi korei es hamatzos, don't read it matzos, ela es hamitzvos. Guard the mitzvahs. So yes, what do you mean don't read it that way? That's what it says. Why shouldn't I read it that way? So the leket bahir I wrote down, I don't know, my notes already made it out into the olam. The leket bahir says that it should have said, Ushmartem es ha-batzek, guard the dough. Because you're not, once it becomes matzah, it can't become chametz, right? Unless you're gabrux, right? But the Vilna Gaon would say we don't have to worry about that. So what do you mean? You don't have to guard the matzahs. You have to guard the dough from becoming chametz. So therefore, the fact that it says matzahs, it means to be read mitzvahs. Al ti'ikari es hamatzahs elas hamitzvahs kederach she'ein machmitzin es hamatzahs. The same way you can't allow your matzahs to become chametz. Kach ein machmitzin es hamitzvahs. So too, do not allow your mitzvos to become chametz. Elam bali yadcha. If it comes to your hand, aseh sameh, do it immediately. So the first you want to know, what's the comparison? The same way you can't let your matzah become chametz, don't let a mitzvah become chametz. Well, what does one thing have to do with the other? The reason why you can't let matzah become chametz is because if it becomes chametz, you're going to violate an iser kares. So by the same token, don't delay taking your lulav and esrog. I mean, what's going to happen if you delay? So you'll do it 10 minutes later. That's not a comparison. What's the tushta? What's the limud from chametz? By chametz, there's an isur dairaisa to let it become chametz. By other mitzvos, okay, it's a nice inyan, it's reason makdimim lemitzvos. But the same way you can't let your matzah become chametz, you can't let the other mitzvos become chametz. So Maral says an amazing idea, something we should really keep in mind. Maral says like this: the Kitzer in the Gur Aryeh, Maral explains that why do we eat matzah? What's the reason we eat matzah? Because kiloi hichlitz b'tzeikam, that's right. The dough didn't have an opportunity to rise. Why not? Why not? Ad shenigla alei melech malchei amlach hakadosh baruch hu. Because Hashem appeared immediately. Why did Hashem appear immediately? Why couldn't Hashem sort of have a slow process? Like in a concert. First they bring in, some singer who hasn't made it yet. Then they bring in some other singer who you never heard of. And finally, after sitting there for like 3 hours, MBD, right? Right? So why did Hashem come? Because when you're dealing with the Ribbon Shalom, there is no lapse of time. Why is there no lapse of time? There's no shihoy zman. Why is there no Because Hashem is l'mala min hazman. Hashem created time, so He's not bound by time. So if Hashem's going to do something, it's going to happen it's going to happen immediately. Geherafayim. So says Maral, the amazing thing. The closest thing we have in this world to the Ribbon Shalom is the Dvar Hashem, is a mitzvah. So we have to do a mitzvah as the Ribbon Shalom would do something. We have to do it below shihoy zman, without any time elapsed, without any atzlus, without any time going by. The same way you can't make your matzah become chametz. Why? Because the Ribbon Shalom appeared, and when the Ribbon Shalom appears, it happens instantaneously. That's how you have to do anything that's connected to the Ribbon Shalom. A mitzvah is the Dvar Hashem. You have to do a mitzvah the way Hashem acts.
It was approximate that,
obviously as much as humanly possible. Right? We can't actually do something without it taking time. But as much as humanly possible, it's not just doing a mitzvah bezrizos is enhancing the mitzvah. The way a mitzvah needs to look, the picture, the whole image, the whole form of a mitzvah has to be, it's a godly activity. And a godly activity doesn't take time. It's a very profound concept. A very deep concept. So let's read that very quickly. What does one thing have to do with another? That it hinges the mitzvah on matzah. The time of the shaykh matzah is shaykh b'mitzvah. The reason you can't let your matzah become chametz is not applicable by a mitzvah. Mikol shekain. And all the more so. Shedavar tema sharashi hevi medrash zeh toich perushai. Why is Rashi, Rashi doesn't bring down every medrash, right? If you look on the Medrash Rabbah, on every pasuk, there are 10 midrashim. Rashi doesn't quote every medrash. Rashi is trying to tell me pshat. So why is Rashi quoting this pasuk? This is very far-fetched from the simple meaning of the pasuk. It appears that there's one reason for the two. The Torah asers chametz, and it also asers delaying in a mitzvah. So says Marav, it's because Hashem revealed Himself for like hispik isasam lahachmitz. Their dough didn't have a chance to rise, and because Hashem revealed Himself, ein kan ikov, there is no delay. Kimasav b'mehiros, Hashem's actions are hastily v'kayach gadol, and with great force. Ein kan ikov. The same way, all spiritual activity, all intelligent activity, pulasam shloi bizman. It's an action that doesn't take time. They are not governed by time. They are not under the control of time. Spiritual activity is not, there's no movement involved. It's not a movement. That's what time comes from. And therefore the Maharal goes on to say that the same way we have to eat matzah to commemorate that Hashem came instantaneously. We have to understand that our mitzvos are the Dvar Hashem, and they have to be done in accordance with that idea. Okay, let's move on. We'll try to chaperine one more Dvar Torah over here, and that is number 6 and 7. And that is like this. The Gemara tells us in Masechta Rosh Hashanah's machlokes between Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Yeshua about when we will be redeemed l'asud lavai. Everybody knows the first Gula Rishayna was when? The Nisan Nigalu. When are we going to be Asidan Ligail? Machlokes Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Lezer says B'Tishrei Asidan Ligail. Rabbi Yeshua says B'Nisan Nigalu or B'Nisan Asidan Ligail. So the first thing we have to say, what's the machlokes? There's halach l'maisa machlokes, and well, when it happens, we'll know when it happens. What kind of machlokes is this? Right? Also, what, the Geula could only come in Nisan or Tishrei? That's interesting. The Gemara says that somebody who made a neder, Hareini Nazir b'yom sheben David ba. Yeah? Someone says, I'm not going to drink wine on the day Mashiach comes. So when are you allowed to drink wine? Never! Because you never know, Mashiach could come any day.
Shabbos.
But the Gemara says you could drink wine on Shabbos and Yom Tif, because Mashiach can't come on Shabbos. Because, right, there's Tchumin l'malam asar. They can't, the Gemara in Eruvin says he can't come down on Shabbos. Yeah. So ask the Aruch HaShulchan. Also, we should be able to drink wine every month except for Nisan and Tishrei. Because if Mashiach could only come in Nisan and Tishrei, so then we don't have to be worried today Mashiach's going to come. That's what the Aruch HaShulchan asks. If according to this machlokes Tanoam, Mashiach's either coming in Nisan or Mashiach is coming in Tishrei, so then someone who makes a neder, Hareini Nazir v'yom sheben David ba, he should be allowed to drink wine the whole year except for Nisan or Tishrei. And b'chol, why do we say Ani Mameh Moshem v'Yezra Avijah? B'chol Yom. What do you mean not b'chol Yom? Only 30 days a year it could come. Yeah, a very interesting question, right? So. Right, we know Hayoim. We say Hayoim in B'Koiloi Sishmo. No, not Hayoim, not today. We're going to have to wait, if according to Rav Yeshua, we're going to have to wait, 2.5 months till Mashiach comes.
Tell me what year.
Okay.
It's a good question.
So, the Aruch HaShulchan...
I talk about the month, talk about the year.
Aruch HaShulchan writes in his drashas, in the new volumes of the Aruch HaShulchan, they print his drashas. This is Drush Vav. Also, I saw this in the Sefer Oros HaPesach of Rav Shlomo Varman. He should be well, who lives here in the neighborhood. They both say the same thing. And that is, there's a machlokes in Sanhedrin on Daf Tzaddik Zayin Amud Beis between none other than Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Yeshua. And that is, in order for Mashiach to come, do we need to be worthy, or even if we're not worthy? So Rabbi Lezer is of the opinion that if Klal Yisrael does tshuva, Mashiach will come, and if we don't do tshuva, we're stuck. And Rabbi Yeshua says no. Bein kach or bein kach negalin, whether we're worthy, we're not worthy, Mashiach will come. Says the Aruch HaShulchan, they are going l'shitase. Rabbi Eliezer, who holds you have to do tshuva, when he says Mashiach will come in the month of Tishrei, you know what he means? He means what happens in Tishrei. You have Rosh Hashanah, you have Yom Kippur, it's the month of Tshuva. What he's trying to say is, in order for Mashiach to come, you need to do Tshuva. When Rabbi Yeshua says that Mashiach will come in Nisan, what's his point? His point is the same way Hashem redeemed us the first time, even though we weren't worthy, even though we were Amen Tashari Tuma, even though Va'ad Eram Ve'eria, right? We didn't have any mitzvos. We were bare of any mitzvos, and nevertheless, Rebbe Hashem redeemed us. Says Rabbi Yeshua, Asidin ligoel b'Nisan. You know what that means? Asidin ligoel b'Nisan, without any ma'asim tovim, even though we're not roy. That's the machlokes Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Yeshua. It's not what month it's going to come. The month symbolizes the requirements necessary to bring about Mashiach. So Rabbi Elazar says tshuva yes. Rabbi Yeshua says tshuva no. Says Aruch HaShulchan, Halacha b'yadeinu, we have a great klal. Machlokes Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yeshua. Halacha Rabbi Yeshua. Halacha l'maisa. Hashem could redeem us. Lefi matzavenu, even though we're not roy. And Rabbi Warman writes, he told this over to Rabbi Gedalia Yashar. Rabbi Gedalia Yashar says he thinks that he heard when he was a young boy that the Admar Mirajin also says this idea. So it's a very the Aruch HaShulchan says it, and the Admar Mirajin, and it's a very
with the tchelis.
yeah.
Wow.
So a very interesting idea that the machlokes Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Yeshua, when Mashiach will come, is taloyin. Do you need tshuva? You don't need tshuva. Rabbi Yeshua says you don't need tshuva. That's why it's in the go in Nisan. The halacha Rabbi Yeshua. Unfortunately, we have to hold it over here. Wow. Have a wonderful day.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.